This Christian's about to get sketchy. In my sketchbook, it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe buttons below. Music provided by bensound.com. My name is John Bursell. So how do you focus on being a Christian artist in a broken world? You can find more content on this topic as you follow the creation of the comic book My Walk at 3otters.blogspot.com. When working on your sketchbook, just want to say a couple of quick things. Mainly, just not to get discouraged as you're working on your stuff. Sometimes things don't look quite the way you want it to. Edit that out. As you're working, you're going to have moments where you feel like nothing looks good at all and you're not really getting anywhere. But you have to have these moments in your sketchbook. You can't have a sketchbook that's perfect and everything in it is drawn like these little masterpieces. You have to have the failures. You have to have the exploration. You have to learn. You have to have a learning curve here. You have to just keep going. And then once you're going through sketching constantly, you'll start to have breakthroughs. This is something that, when I look at it, it's horrible to me. But then, as I continued, I started to get some ideas for just really rough. How I want the comic book to look that I'm working on. And just getting some of these things down. Just getting some of these things down. Shapes. Just getting my muscle memory back from not drawing for a long time. Just sketching. Shapes. Proportions. Mostly my character development. I just kept feeling like I was trying to learn from the masters, but then at the same time, I didn't like where my stuff was going. I tried to merge some of the ideas from the Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes and Hellboy, and just not doing it for me. I didn't tried to shade Charlie Brown like they do Hellboy. Kind of come up with a noir kind of, let's skip this one. Trying to come up with a noir kind of Peanuts. But anyways, just quickly, I just wanted to say something about, just keep working on it in here, and sometimes you'll find some gems. Like these, as I continued to draw, I really wasn't happy with the anatomy, the proportions, but as I went on exploring and trying and getting frustrated and sketching backgrounds instead and just not happy with the work I was doing, I had some breakthroughs with the backgrounds, starting to come up with, wow, I want to do this look. And from there, doing some master studies from comic book pages, copying other people's work. Might look familiar. Just copying how they lay things out and how they do their pages. And after doing these studies, I wasn't happy with my character's anatomy, so I thought, what if I draw their skeletal system? Then I'd have a place to start with their look, and I did not like it at all. But I explored it. I tried. From there, I was still having problems with the anatomy, with the things I want to do in my comic book. But I was liking the characters, but not their bodies, until I started doing this. And then I felt a breakthrough start to happen. Now, I didn't put arms in yet. This was just, okay, I'm really liking this look. I really want to explore this. And then I started having this breakthrough moment where, maybe I could do something on this level. So, the point of this little segment is just keep sketching, keep exploring, and then you might actually have a moment where, boom, it starts to feel like this is just the beginning now. But this is the path that I want to go on with these characters. I'm starting to like this style. So, in your sketchbooks, failure is essential. You have to fail, and you have to continue on and keep pushing it. Okay, I am cleaning this room before I pick up Luke in 1 hour. I was doing the dishes upstairs and just got flooded with stuff in my head. And so now I need to put it down. For some reason, Saturday night, I went to bed at like 9:30, which is unusual. I usually go to bed about 1 in the morning while I'm working on stuff, but I was so exhausted from the day, all the stuff going on. And I got woken up at like 1 a.m. And I sat in bed for an hour, just like God was working through this relationship sermon / book, whatever its relationship's going to be. And just churning through the whole thing, the whole spiel. And I'm getting in this bad habit of getting busy and letting the inspiration sit in my head till I forget about it. So, had all the relationship sermon going through my head to where I actually connected in a better way the Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 and the scientific thing of like existence and how it connected to relationships and how he needed a place to put us, and it was so much better in my head than what I put down so far. Now today, doing the dishes, I've been listening to some videos on YouTube. I've been struggling with this, should I get gritty and in the world with my comic book so that non-believers be attracted to it and then start to learn about God? And then I've been watching videos about, you're supposed to, as Christians, we're supposed to shine the light and stay holy and not touch anything. And there's scriptures that say that. And so I'm getting confused back and forth with a lot of these subjects, and I started because I'm interested in music, and I'm a big fan of music. I grew up with Iron Maiden, Metallica, Kiss, and I became a huge fan as a kid growing up in that stuff. And then becoming a Christian, you're taught to stay away from all of that. So I've been getting into the contemporary Christian music. And with that, I thought I would research about their industry because I'm curious. It's like, okay, when you follow Kiss or Metallica or Iron Maiden, you get all of their videotapes you can get your hands on, watch all the concerts, all the videos, you get all their albums, and any magazine that has a story about them, you get it. If they're on MTV, you watch that interview and you get to know everything, the ins and outs of your band that you like. So I'm 50 years old right now, and so I'm a little old for that kind of fandom, and I'd rather focus on Christ. But that idea is planted in the back of my 16-year-old brain. And so I started looking up on, while I'm doing the dishes, watching videos about the contemporary Christian music. And some of the bands I've been trying to get into to replace the other bands I used to listen to. Still listen to. And so I started watching these videos to kind of see what the industry's like and what that side of the coin is about. And I stumbled across a lot of negative videos about just bashing them. And I can see where that could happen. And the thing that God was really calling out in my brain as I'm watching these, and I'm thinking, well, this is daunting, and this is... Two points came up, and then I'm going to go into some other details. The first thing that came to mind, I was going to order an external hard drive on Amazon. And I'm researching every one of them, and every single external hard drive has got, like, don't buy this, it's garbage, 1 star, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my gosh, how do I pick a good one that I'm not going to get it in the mail, put all my content on it, and then it's going to crap out on me? And how, I don't want to spend money on something and lose all my files. Every single... And then I came across this comment on one of them that I was researching, and he gave some facts and statistics and said, you know what, all these negative comments, generally, when somebody has something good to say, they don't take the time to do it. But when we're angry and we want to get at somebody, and some people that don't even understand computers and how all this stuff works, and maybe it was that 5% that you get in the mail that it doesn't work, those ones comment, and it makes the whole show look horrible. And so I was reading through that comment, and then as I was watching these videos about the Christian music and how they're bashing it, it just brought that to mind, that okay, maybe I need to step back and not think that this one video, the guy talked about, he gave all these reasons why you should not listen to Christian music. And he's a Christian hardcore. That one, you could get possessed by demons. And another point he made, and he was going through all these facts about it, like how and why. And the other point was you could get brain damage. Now, I think Iron Maiden would probably give me more brain damage than DC Talk or Striper, but the thing is, it's silly, and it could be that 5% that's bashing it. The reason I'm rehashing all of this really quickly, is the fact that I do want to do a book on how to create Christian comics. I'm trying to work on that, along with the relationship book, along with my comic books. And as I get these ideas, I want to put them down, and I always get busy with my life, and then these ideas get left behind. But I've been doing extensive studies on Christian comics, Christian content, Christian art, trying to figure out like the realm of cheesy and bad, and how to connect with the unsaved, and how to get them to really like and respect the entertainment you're producing. While watching the videos, the second thing that I thought of, besides that little review on Amazon, that popped into my head watching these reviews were, let's pay attention to their complaints about Christian music. all the things that they're listing out, and some of these videos, they were Christians saying it. They were complaining about the content of the music that's supposed to be catered to them. And then there were a few videos that were really good too, non-Christians bashing it. And they were going through, one guy was going through the 7 sins of all of these. And he had people from the industry that used to be in the industry, and they had their little stories about on tour. And so they were really bashing. And so God was calling me to not take offense and get all riled up, but to listen to their criticisms. Why don't people in the world like this music? And some of the points, I won't go into all of the details, but some of the basic points were that the Christian music seems like a watered down version of the worldly secular music that's out there. So, like if you have a band like Metallica, there's a watered down version of a Christian band out there that does the same thing, but they don't sound as good. They haven't worked on their craft. They're almost like they're doing a lazy version. Or they're 10 to 20 years behind on what's popular now. They're like stuck in the past. So, those are some of the comments and complaints that were coming up. And I just heard it loud and clear as I was doing the dishes. And it could have been my thought. I don't know. I usually don't think this deep. So I'm going to give somebody else credit. How can I relate this? Because I've been struggling with the Christian comic thing. Which direction to go with it? Is it too preachy? Should it be like, don't talk about God? Or like Narnia and those books that like have symbolism, like the lion symbolizes Jesus, but don't say Jesus. Which route do I go to really reach the unsaved with this book? And I just heard it loud and clear. How can I take these criticisms of the music industry? Because I've been researching Christian comics heavily. There's not a lot out there about it. There's not a lot of there's not really a big movement for it. And I want to do it, and I want to do it right, and I want to really make an impact. How do I do that? So, watching these videos made me think, how can I apply the criticisms of the Christian music industry and apply it to my comic book? To definitely listen to what their concerns were, because it's art across the board. I can relate the things they talked about, the musicians and the music and the creating for God. I can apply those criticisms to what I'm going to do. So how can I take their criticisms and apply it to my craft and my comic and my ideas, and to help maybe shape it a little bit? Maybe as I came up with this book, it was what do you call it? Been working on for my comic, where the logo's at and the branding book. It's like, how is my brand going to look? What colors do I use? How's the logo look? The fonts, the typefaces. They're like, how am I going to structure this? Like branding would be like McDonald's, and they have their M, and it's a certain M, and it's a certain way. It's a certain color, and they have this image that they try to always put out there so that it becomes redundant and it becomes something that you notice. Oh, that you recognize it. And so I'm trying to brand my stuff as I'm creating the story and the characters and putting it together. These videos of criticisms, if I listed them out, I could put it in my branding book as the direction I want my story to go, the way I want it to look, the way I want it to come across, who's my target market, who am I speaking to with my story. So, just, whenever I do the dishes, I get flooded with this stuff. A lot of times when I do the dishes, it's when the kids are home from school and it's all crazy. Today I did it this morning, and now I'm actually getting to put my thoughts down. This happens all the time, but I always lose them. So, just a quick video to kind of put that out there, that I really want to start making more content. I really want to start hitting this before the new year hits. Just while we're in November now, the beginning of November, and then we've got December. So I'm just trying to wrap up a lot of things and create a lot of content and not put it out there. And then when the new year hits, I'll have like this cushion of stuff that I'm going to start to release slowly. Yeah. So, rambling. I'm going to edit this down if I do put it out on YouTube. Edit it. Take some of this out. So, I need to clean this room. And if I get more ideas, I will hit record. Another quick point I want to add to, do it like that. There we go. Another quick point I want to add to thoughts I gave on the previous video about Christian art, Christian comics, and the music industry for Christian music. Just something I want to include in my book that I'm putting together. So these are mental notes. As a Christian artist, we should strive to be better with our craft. I've noticed a lot of content that I've been looking at on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. What's amazing is like the whole manga thing that's popular in a lot of the Asian countries, with these comic books that they're producing rapidly with a variety of stories, and they're so popular, the sales are through the roof. Whereas in America, our comic books are pretty much making movies to make money instead of actually moving the books themselves. I think, just an opinion, I think the Asian culture with their work, they're excelling at their craft. They are working so hard that it shows in the product. The downside to it is I've seen a couple of documentaries on some manga artists who practically have an apartment for their family, then they have an apartment somewhere else where they create the content for their comics. They leave their families for weeks at a time. So they are so focused on their art that they're forgetting everything else in the world that's important. I don't feel like we need to go to that extreme, but as an example of their craft and how excellent they're doing with it, I think especially American Christians who are creating content for comic books or whatever else that's creative, I think we can do better. We have it in us to do better. If we are representing Christ as Christians, wouldn't you think in our craft and in our art and our creativity that we would want to push it, not to the point of neglecting the church or our kids or our wife or our families or work? If we have to work 40 hours a week, sometimes we have to do those things. We can't sacrifice on the level that I just discussed of others that are excelling, but we need to push ourselves to be better, to do better, to work on our craft constantly, to get more disciplined. If we're going to represent Christ, we're going to do something to glorify God through our art and our craft, we should really set time aside when we can to practice, get it down, and start making things that we can put out into the world that's going to make a difference. So just some thoughts on that. I just wanted to get that out to, yeah, I need to put that in my book so that I've seen a lot of Christian comics, Christian art, that just like the Christian music industry, on my previous video I just spoke on the some of the comments and critiques on the Christian music industry is it feels lazy in some aspects. It's not as good as if they're playing rock or if they're playing metal or if they're playing whatever kind of music. They don't seem to be as good as the people that they're copying, and it almost feels like they're replicas, but they're watered down. The Christian comics community, there are some excellent stuff out there. There's some really high quality, and you can tell that they're working on their craft or they're really pushing it further. But there's also a lot of content out there where it feels like they're trying to be somebody else, or maybe that creator is inspired by something that's like a major company that's putting out comics, and they're inspired by that, but they're like the watered down version of it, and they almost appear to be lazy in their craft. And when I say this, I'm saying it with love. I'm saying it with also the understanding that I need to work on my craft. I need to push myself. These are more notes of what I'm seeing in the world and how can we change how Christian content is viewed. We're laughed at. We're kind of the cheesy afterthought of what's going on in the world. And it's almost like the guy at the party that, hey man, take a drink. You want a drink? And it's like, well, no, I'm not. And it's the guy that gets made fun of that's off in the corner that's not included in the cool stuff that's going on. And that's what Christian comics feels like. And so we as creators can change that. We can create content and stories. We can create amazing worlds and touch hearts and change lives through our craft, through our art, if we push ourselves harder without neglecting, first off, God, and then our families, our church. We need to prioritize, but whenever we get the opportunity, when the kids are in bed, the wife is okay, the job is over for the day, and we're up at night, and we got a couple hours before bed, you can scroll through Facebook for a couple hours, you can put Netflix on, or you could get to your drafting board and start drawing. And it's only going to shine the light of Christ even more if we work on our craft, so we can make a difference in the world.